secateurs are very important, but more important if you're going to be using woody stems, and I'll get to that in a minute. As you can see here to my right, I've got some acacia, and notice that it's got pretty tough stem. Now, they're a woody stem, which means that they drink twice as more water than naturally cut flowers, for example, roses. So if you've got a wreath, you need to water it minimum twice a day, because it drinks a lot when you've got woody stems in the floral foam. Now, the first thing that you need to do is position your wreath in front of you using your secateurs. I'm going to cut through the acacia like so. Now, I'm not going to be using my pruning secateurs, which are designed to cut into woody stems. Acacia has a pretty thin stem, and I could use my standard secateurs like so. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to individually cut away from the main stem, like so. I love acacia. As you can see, it's got bright yellow, vibrant colours, and it's got very textured grey leaves, and it feels really, really tickly actually on your fingertips. So I'll just cut that like that. And make sure that you're cutting your stems on an angle, because it makes the incision into the floral foam a lot more easier. So placement with cut edges is a very good tip to remember. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm using acacia today is because, as you can see, it's got a lot of leaves, bit of character, texture, and the yellow bits on top just feel like cotton. They're just really, really exciting to work with. So just like that, I'm just cutting into the acacia like so. Now, the colour yellow, before I start inserting into the floral foam, if you're after some sort of lift, you're lacking some energy during the day, surround yourself with the colour yellow, because the colour yellow adds energy into your day. So something to look out for if you're feeling flat during the day. Okay, I think I've cut enough acacia to start inserting into my floral foam. Just put my secateurs aside like so. And I'm going to be inserting my stem into the floral foam, and I don't want you to insert more than 5 centimetres. 5 centimetres is plenty. So my placement is happening at the edge of the rim. So I've just added a second stem there. And make sure that your stems are in line on it, like measure it against the second one with each other. See how I'm measuring it? So that's giving me an indication of where to cut. Make sure you take any excess foliage off the stem, because you need a very clean, clear way, okay? So just like that. Now, wreaths are very suitable for your door for Christmas. They're also very suitable for funerals, and also very suitable, believe it or not, for weddings. Because what they do in weddings is that opening the mouth of the floral foam here, which is the wreath, you can put a candle, which then towers up to maybe here if you like, or you can put a vase. So you can go up another extension, and it looks really, really fancy. Now, we'll get to that later in the show. Now I'll just add that. Okay, so as you can see there, I'm just lining them up one by one. So that's more or less level 1. And if you want to go up a level, as you can see, it's a little bit shorter compared to the others. I'd say maybe half in length. Just take it up to the surface of the wreath. So I've just placed it in that section opposed to the others that I've done earlier at the outskirts of the floral foam, which is the wreath. So let me put some more up on the surface so you can get an idea of what I'm really talking about. So can you see what's happening there? Just layering it on top. I'll put that down the bottom because it's in length with the others. This one here, I might cut it down a little bit. Remember, you need to remove the leaves. I'm just really excited about making this wreath today. Now, every time you've finished a section, I want you to turn your wreath around, not completely around, just more to your left, and start on the new area of interest. Just take off the leaves like so. Now with acacia, it dries naturally and it still maintains its colour. Not so bold, but it dries beautifully. So if you're after that dried look, this can go a very long way for you, especially if you're after value for money. So a little bit there. Now when it comes to your wreath, something that you need to keep in mind of is that the temperature of the room, and in this case it doesn't really matter because we are using native cut flower material, but let's just say if you're using roses or hydrangea, temperature plays a very, very big role in the vase life, or let's say arrangement life of your floral creation. So for example, if you've got your heater on and you're doing your best to enjoy your floral creations, it's going to take away from its age and it's going to start aging rapidly. So if you want to slow down the aging process, it's better off to tune your temperature to cooler conditions, because with a cooler environment, your flowers are going to last a lot more longer. So that's a shorter one. That won't do well on the outskirts of the wreath. That'll do really, really well in this mid-range of the wreath. As you can see there, that would be perfect to place on the outskirts of the wreath. Now, like I said, don't push it too much into the wreath, because you will notice if you do that, you might come out the other side. So that's a tip to remember. Now, there are people out there that love to mix their flowers with vegetables or even fruit. Now, one of the fruits that I love working with and that would do very, very well in this wreath are artichokes at the moment. And they usually come out in the cooler months of the year. So if you're after something a little bit more bold, unusual, think artichokes. Other people are using figs, for example, or even limes. So something to think about. What I would love to use in this arrangement is lemons, because as you can see here, we've got abundant colour of yellow, and as I said earlier, the colour yellow increases your activity levels. So if you're low on energy, like I said earlier, it's going to give you that lift that you lack. And lemons are going to add more yellow to the family of acacia here at the moment. Now, when you cut any citrus in half, keep in mind that over time let's say an hour, it starts to shrivel. And the longer that you do leave it out, cut, it's going to shrivel, shrivel and shrivel. And in most cases, it just starts to rot and die away. I'll share a tip with you that is going to keep it more intact and more long lasting. Now, if you slice your citrus in half and you spray it with hairspray, it's going to seal the juices in the lemon, and it's going to last a lot more longer. So that's another tip that I was very happy to share with you today. Okay, as you can see there, we're coming along. It's looking almost there. Can you see what's happening there? It's just looking really, really special, isn't it? And I can't wait until it's all finished. I do a lot of deliveries to nursing homes, and it's quite a privilege actually, because you walk in and you notice that these are the people that have built this country, and what any other way to say thank you to them. Well, I'll say thank you with donating some flowers, and believe it or not, if you want to trigger their memory, and it has been scientifically proven that if you gift them flowers, in some cases it takes them back to their childhood, because if you really think about it, back in the generation, a lot of them were doing most of their activities outdoors. That doesn't very much happen these days, unfortunately, but back in those days, that's what used to happen. So if a young lady back in the 1920s was heavily engaged in outdoor activities and loved her mother's gardenia tree and her hydrangea tree, and all of a sudden I've just delivered some hydrangea to her, it's going to take her back to when she was a little girl. And believe it or not, this is the only industry where everybody is happy to see you, regardless of the occasion. Everybody's happy to see me when I turn up with flowers. Okay, so we're almost there. Now, before I forget, if you have to go purchase a wreath here in Australia, for example, how much are we looking at? Well, wreaths here in Australia can start at $110, and that is the smallest wreath. Not much really goes into it, and it starts to climb all the way up to sometimes $330. So the one that I've chosen to make today is $220, retail that is, and something to think about. Why go pay that excessive amount of money when you're perfectly fine or able to make it yourself? And this is what this workshop is all about. It's about doing it yourself. And believe me, when you make it yourself, it feels so rewarding that you don't really need anything else to make you happy, really, other than the beautiful girls, which I call most of my cut flowers around you. So I'm just adding some of my cut-offs into the wreath. And as you can see there, I've used it all up. Can you see that? That's all done. So that's stage one, and very shortly we'll be starting on stage two.